At any rate, it is time we get started. We're going back to hang with our friends in Hinamazawa. Only good things are going to happen. Well, we haven't even got started yet. We are just now getting started. We are about to load into the next chapter as we speak. So, we are off to the races. See, I think, yep, that's when we quit last night. So off we go. We read the tips, I'm pretty sure. Alright, there's another tip we didn't see yet. Hold on, there's this tip we somehow missed last night, and I don't know how we fucking missed it. Like, just, wow, how did we miss this? I was going through it last night, it was like, oh no, we forgot to look at the most important tip. We forgot to look at the despair corn tip. I love that they both have the hat. They have the hat, and that makes me so happy. Despair corn is, of course, trademark copyright Sayara. Come on, there's no way I could resist doing this. This will probably... I love the ominous music for this as well. It's really good. So that's the corn tip, if anybody didn't know it. We'll probably be revisiting that one a little more throughout the show tonight. So, anyone's curious, or if anyone wants to see, or anyone comes in, you let them know that there's a corn tip and I'll show them. We are off to the races. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. Hey, that's like Sayara. Did you take over his narration? What's wrong, Keiichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. Ma, you do seem a little warm. Well... Can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Bing dong, bing bong! Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Then I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived I quickly fell into a deep slumber. No club activities today, y'all. Talk about a bummer. I was looking forward to some Monopoly. Like strip Monopoly in this club's case. It would probably be the case. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would be back for dinner, but it might be a bit late. On the note, it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right, I hadn't been there before, so I didn't exactly know where it was. If I I had a light lunch, although it really was leftovers from the morning, and just in case I went to the hospital. Normally I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Dude, you're skipping school. It's fine. You're a teenager. You gotta do this kind of shit. You gotta live a little, Keiichi. Following my mom's map, I took the road I never usually used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Irie Clinic was written stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it wasn't too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Barra-san, please make your way to the examination room. After half-heartedly answering all the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot 3 times and 3 days worth of medication. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it just wasn't for that word. Must be an Onikakushi. I wonder, she was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season? The young one with the big camera? Didn't you know that they were getting along pretty well? They were talking about Tomitake-san. I could feel my ears pricking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit your job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san was an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san. The woman was Tomitake-san, and she worked at the clinic. Oyashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved further off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Barra-san! Good day to you! It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of the car, AC full blast, and waved at me. Oh no, it's shit cop again. Here we go. I'd rather be talking to garbage child right now, Oishi-san. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold. I expect you'd rather avoid using one of the local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that all right? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. Time to get in trouble! But man, hey, we're gonna get in trouble. At least we're in an air-conditioned car, right? I went with Oishi-san riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation at the time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, the brightness of the sunlight The thought still creeped me out. With a bump that had jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back and forth with a sudden realization. That's right, this is where Tomitake-san died. They've hit a snag in the investigation regarding Tomitake-san, Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you use in comics all the time where there's a drug that doesn't leave any traces after being consumed? It exists. Something or other. Yeah, Succinylcol. Yeah, we're just gonna call it Succinylcol. Something or other. We believe the drug was corn-based. It was corn-based. This culprit right here. You missed corn. You missed the best tip ever, June, but I'm willing to revisit this tip just for you. Are you ready? We are going to revisit the best tip imaginable. Did you know that there was a tip for despair corn? Yeah, I did some digging and I looked in it last night and I was like, how did we miss that? I don't know how we missed that tip. So yeah, we had to revisit it on stream earlier. So there's corn tip. Despair corn was a tip in Higurashi all along. Who'd have thunk it? We're not too far though. Keiichi just went to the doctor's office and we just bumped into Oishi on the way back home. So things are obviously going well. We're hanging out with Shit Cop when I would rather be hanging out with Trash Child right now. Imagine that. Mad Photoshop. Yeah, it was a Photoshop. Because all of the game's assets are, they're not encrypted or anything. So I was able to just pull them out and create the screenshot myself. And the font is already one that we used for her lullaby anyway. So it's pretty easy to pull it all together. It's a muscle relaxant, alright. And it's probably not detectable. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, it doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitake-san to react like that. Then you're saying the police concluded Tomitake-san just died from the curse. I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. That's the statement of the fucking century. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated from Tomitake-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now, but putting aside the curse of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. It's a muscle relaxant, not a hallucinogen. That was no curse, but an incident and unquestionably involved other humans. That made me a bit relieved. We're hanging out with Shit Cop, we're getting in trouble. We passed in front of a rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. There's no such thing as curses, so saith the pig. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be children in here in the middle of a weekday. 2, please. I'll make do with no smoking. This way, please. When you are ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san on the booth. So what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Huh? Well, I guess. The shop is always quite busy. It's more for the waitresses than the food, you see. Uh-huh. Oishi-san, you're leering. Am I really? Oh, I'm fucking weird, creepy old guy. Creepy old guys getting an old guy boner in the restaurant. Regardless of how waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that was the village of the man-eating demons or something like that. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out a notepad and that was stuffed in his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onikakushi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onikakushi. That's quite a name. The name's still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh, and you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was kind of a deification. A village of inhuman creatures. The unheavenly creatures, if you will. Seems the demons were seinen, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Seinen. There we go. Villagers with incurable illnesses would be taken to Ogre's Abyss to be healed, for example. Even if we were calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or seinen, which would be more apt description, they didn't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons. According to the story my grandmother told me, as payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all of the villagers of Onikakushi, the demons, chased, surrounded, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both the mother and the son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with that story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh? There's plenty of old fables like this. In contrast with the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But, well, there's quite a few other tales. Where the demons from Onikakushi band together to capture their prey. I recall that Mion said the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities to how that part about unification overlapped. They would always hunt down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. Everybody died, no moral. Bad end. It's over. So what does this all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems that's a kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlap with the theory that the entire village was in on the crime. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then Oishi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the entire village or a group of villagers perpetuating the crimes. What do you think, Maebara-san? What do you think, Maebara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say the last part. He waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maebara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay, of background checking done on them. If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have gotten angry at him for calling my friends into question. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid, Maebara-san. If you feel it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. He takes milk with his coffee. He's a sissy. You'd think like a Hardin detective would be the one drinking the black coffee, don't you think? Well, these cops just don't like black anything, apparently. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression I'd ever seen on him, as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. Nice Weezer reference. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. "Stop! Keiichi, this is really bad!" That was probably the last one. I took in a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. It was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared at my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations, Oishi-san had said before Mion had defied the damn project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? Their daughter was with them at the time. Her name is Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Satoko? Meaning Satoko? You mean garbage child? Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized that as well and quickly quieted down. The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see, their daughter is Rica Furude-san. Rica-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year, you know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it had been nothing but a bizarre incident, but one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, I had snuck all the way into my feet. The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way, he was Satoko-san's older brother. What? Wait a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Barra. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to just be a coincidence. Maibara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion, Satoko, Rica-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me of all of my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Rena's different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all. Rena Ryugu-san was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, that's true that she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke out all the windows. Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same spacey Rena had... I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. Fuck, I'm having a stroke. Dysautonomia. She was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I'd heard when it happens to people, you're really methodical and overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit of that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Uh-oh. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why? Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? Dysautonomia. There we go. See, I'm smart. I can say words sometimes. Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Ah, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to the residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. They moved to Ibaraki just as Rena-san entered elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Barra-san, are you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I know about Rena. Then how about the last victim, Tomitake-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out a final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Barra-san? Didn't you spend all night at the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. Boy, shit cop is enjoying this. Look at that fucking smile on his mug. We should get going. Ah, Barra-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi-san said that. I got another glass of water, and before we left the shop, I chugged it down. He has a whole year to not get murdered. Exactly. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention while I was on my bike, but do cars normally shake this much? It almost seemed like the road was desperately trying to tell me something. Ba-dump. The big jolt was from a difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain I heard Tomitake-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. Didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop. Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating a string of suspicious incidents, but why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, possibly know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I was part of Neon's inner circle of friends who looked suspicious to Oishi-san. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Oishi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly intuition from 30 years on this job. Barra-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with that's absurd, but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. So I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again. Or so I was told. This was the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. This is fine. After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car, the chirping of the Higurashi in my ears. I won't mind if you just forget everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Barra-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing also you while you're taking a day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. The tires crushed over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. I felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. This was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair. telling me I was going to be the next victim and just saying to contact him if something happened? This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it! I don't want to die! For the first time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. Rip. Bad day! Should have just stayed at home, my dude. Two days away from retirement. I wonder how much time has passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is the My Barra residence. Oh, he's alive. Hello. This is Mion. How are you doing? Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi's resting now, but shall I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Idiot! You fell for it! Huh? Kei-chan! After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except that I was suspicious of her as we were laughing. Whoops. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. Rena was really worried, you know. Satoko-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rica-chan said, how unfortunate. He's sick. Well, it looks like everyone was making a big deal out of it. Well, you know, Soke-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? Visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying from a curse or anything. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See ya. Be there in a bit. The call's coming from inside the house. She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess she was with me on. Ding dong, bing bong. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. Yo, it's the crew. How you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mira showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind these expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it, huh? You don't say. It seemed my face appeared a bit sullen. Then here, Keiichi-kun, these are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma made. Rena held out a package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in there. It was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion. Yep. And there's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. This is Kei-chan's homework, since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. What, were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Ominous mochi. It's the good stuff. It's my favorite flavor. Man, what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mi-chan, we shouldn't be making a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because of the entranceway was a mess. You're right. Let's get going. Oh, by the way, Kei-chan, yeah? What did you eat for lunch? The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I'd never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane and almost meaningless. The way she said it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out? She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I had hesitated or tried to change the subject, that they'd read too deep into that, so I tried answering as quickly as possible, except contrary to the efforts that I made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun. The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed from some point as well. Now it was sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? Flop. The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out from my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh, Keiichi-kun. Who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything. How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seemed like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Rena. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that? Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like I was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. I knew everything I had to stop. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home. Bye, friends. It was fun. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. Oh shit! That actually got me! Okay! Whew! Okay, I wasn't expecting the sound drop there. It got me. A single eye peered through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. All right? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle after their low laughter died off into the distance as silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard. From the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked to Oishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oishiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole. As well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rica-chan were all suspicious. Was that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I talking about? I hit my face hard enough that I let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me up from this nightmare, but for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the same time. They must have told Mion I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? The way they were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the unusually mild-mannered Rena, and just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. That's how I usually explain that. Exactly. We got spaghetti all up in there. We've got spaghetti all up in the chat now. Hey, Duck. How's it going? I'm reading a story to people, so apologies if I don't immediately get to folks hanging out in chat. So I'm not trying to ignore anybody on purpose. So just to let you know, hey, how's it going? But how's it going? I hope your evening is going rather well. And you too, Jetstorm, welcome. We've got Duck brought some spaghetti, so it's all good. Duck brought spaghetti for everybody, so it'll be fine. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head because I didn't want pasta to fall out of my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion was a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. Like, she might smell like a garbage can 24/7, but she's okay. She's not a cop, I can at least give her that. She was pretty bratty, but that's just the way she interacted with others. Rica-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitaki-san, when I was told about Yoshiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then, hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rica-chan were all suspicious, after that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started going weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I shouldn't have asked Tomitaki-san about the past incidents on the night of the Watanagashi. If I had just gotten this strange sense of curiosity, if I just hadn't gotten this strange sense of curiosity, if I just hadn't. That's right. So that's why they did a bad to Tomitaki-san. That's why they did it. You really want to asterisk Tomitaki-san, don't you? That impudent outsider speaking of the likes of me, and everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably Oishi-san as well. Oh, dang. For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that's going to be id. Both Tomitaki-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall off to Oyashiro-sama's curse and just... Dang. He's into it now. He's all into this idea of the curse. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 There's that good repeating dialogue in a visual novel thing that John loves. I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted my back subsided. Madness mantra. Yeah. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. Ah, that reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. Wow, our club did delivery. That's something else. I picked up the package I had dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. Doop-de-doop-de-doo. This is not a living room, Keiichi. This is a kitchen. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it, to fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspapers, A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, they said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much of a difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure the kind of person Neon's grandma was, but Rena had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi was made very neatly. So well that just by staring at it, I could tell that it stood out. It looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one's Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remembered correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning the one Rena had made was this one. E! For a moment I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid, as she knew I'd pick up on it. But that probably wasn't the case. E! E! E to show respect. E to pay respect. It wouldn't be so sure if Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Narfle. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite an appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion, but well, first a bite. It was quite a bit difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, as there was little difference in the flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena, the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had 1 bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Narfle. It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached into my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down on the floor. Thinking about it, man, they really animated this in the show, didn't they? Like, I remember that shot very clearly of him throwing the mochi at the fucking wall and it sliding down. Jesus, it's an interesting detail to kind of just, like, to read it and then immediately remember, oh, they fucking animated that. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that had performed such a vile act, and then I remembered what it was I had taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long, and it wasn't this short. It was a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen to one end of it. Yes, there was a hole where the thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It did look just like a sewing needle. Huh. What did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by the chattering of my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain in the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around as if I was bleeding. Suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was throbbing intensely. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat. Plop. Splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. Oh, they even did it on the background! Holy shit! Keiichi put poop stains on the wall! That's amazing! That's pretty cool. I bet they didn't do that in the original art because the arts were because the arts back then were just filtered backgrounds. That's interesting. The geometrical patterns scattered in the bead jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under the covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or a warning or reminder, nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What was happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me, not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing bottomless marsh. Moyashiro-sama. The only way to survive is to form a harem. Exactly. We've got tips, a drug that makes you kill yourself, and a threat. Let's check them tips. Let's get them tippity tips ready. Let's view them new tippity tips. Except the harem tried to murder. You know what? I'm okay with a murder harem. I'm gonna just be real with y'all. I'm okay with a murder harem. Alright. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. That's quite a roundabout response. You mean that there is one that does it indirectly? It's possible to induce a mental suicide or suicidal mental state is what I mean. That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They don't have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air, thus they don't commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit suicide to commit to such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. I see, so it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then, was Tomitake-san bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as though going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomitake-san's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There are no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, where it affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder if there's something that could happen more spontaneously. Something that fits this case that would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden. Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors contributed might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain to me in simpler terms? Basically, he knocked his noggin in a brawl and it made him go haywire. We're having a good old laugh about this, as police do. Guess this means the assailants didn't have any intent to kill. They smacked him hoping to nick some change, and just happened to hit a bad place. The two plump men laughed hoarsely. Jesus Christ, these plump men are the worst. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. Whether it was a habitual drug use or something mental, the deceased's background holds the key. How's your investigation going? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I have to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. Dang. Funny death! Alright, threat. Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. That's Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The Prefectural Assembly Member and the City Councilor are related. Yeah, it's dirty is what it is, shouting out each other's name during elections. While one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly and they double up their campaign activities blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but it is against the rule. Isn't it against the rules of the election? Well, as long as they have no prior consultation, there's no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the 2nd Investigation Division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election laws. I'm not cut out to handle intellectual crime, because I'm dumb! Good. The police even admit they're dumb. Fantastic! This whole case is definitely getting solved by these idiots. There was Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. Also, the Mayor of Hinamizawa. So, they're all influenced by the Sonozaki family. What crap. It looks like they were seen off by the Deputy Chief and the Department Chief. It came to me. Okay. That night, when the Department Chief invited me along to get some Oden, I thought that was it. Oh shit. You have a lot of connections that so you might have heard something. Have you? Nope. Not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. The counselors stormed in on the police chief in a rage. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me, I'm not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You've reopened the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomitake's death. Missed the end of that. I've already got my hands full with Tomitake's death. I'm laughing like an idiot. Okay, that's all I meant. Really? I hope so for your sake. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. That was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet is feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. I haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read these horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. The department chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it the night before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already jelly. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the department chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Oh, Ichi-san. Yeah. The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. These villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your severance pay and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Mother pines to return to her birthplace. It's the least I can do. And the severance, well, I'll enjoy it at the entertainment district. The chief said he may have to reconsider issuing your special recruitment salary raise. A public servant severance payment is calculated based on their monthly salary when they retire. So a special promotion of 2 pay grades is given before retirement. This tops up the employee's severance payment. This tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, that's not exactly a commendable custom. Incidentally, the difference between the 2 pay grades makes the payout is quite significant. I'd expect no less of our egghead chief. Quite the model veiled threat. But well, considering how our pay comes from the public's hard-earned taxes, it's the way of the times, I suppose. It certainly wasn't a laughing matter, but I'll laugh through it anyway, 'cause I'm garbage. I don't think it's such a modest response, but given how hard you worked, it's not at all odd for you to take home such a good package. Personally, I'd like you to get it. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. You'll get it, as long as you're an adult about this. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the department chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like he still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the lights. Ah! I don't need that. Not in my grill. But it's even creepier. And of course, no, not there. Ah! Oh man, I wonder if I'll be able to repay that loan. Dramatic zoom in. Alright, we're going to take a quick 5 or so and be right back, and then we're going to pick up with another chapter. And until then, I leave you with our good pal, Despaircorn. Be back in a few. It's all par for the course in Hinamizawa, Raven. That's how it all goes. It's fine. It's probably all going to be fine. It's probably all going to get sorted out relatively easily. Like, we're probably going into the chapter where everything starts turning back around, and it's going to be fine. That's what I think. I mean, that is my prediction. Where are we at in chat with predictions? How good are things about to get? Because I think we're gonna turn it all around. We're gonna pull out of this nosedive. Everything's gonna be fine. Yeah, it's all just fooling about, isn't it? Despair corn in classrooms. What'll they think of next? No more mochi pranks? Dang. It's gonna get funky. Like, they're actually gonna pull out instruments and they're going to form, like, that's the next club activity, is they're going to form a funk band. When does Gilgamesh show up? I can't tell you yet, Jetstorm. I don't want to spoil that. Why would I spoil the best surprise? Oh God, when they came on. No! Oh God, I just imagined it, and it's like the worst possible thing. It's like my favorite thing turning into the most brain-dead thing imaginable. Great. Let us continue. Next chapter. Let's go. It's another bright and sunny day in Hinamizawa. Tap, tap, tap. Tap. Tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door, it was as if I was completely paralyzed and unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they come into my room right now, then... Blah! Eek! I sprung to my feet from through my covers at my mom, who was opening the door. Whoa! Keiichi, were you, like, just wanking in here and you didn't want Mom to know? It's okay. I wash your underwear. I know. You're old enough. You're that age. It's fine, honey. Sorry. I was still half asleep. I thought it was 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday, I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest, but it didn't feel like it at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up, and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well. Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school? I felt far from well enough. No, I wasn't mentally fit to go. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? Or what if it had pierced my tongue? There was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such dubious methods as having me swallow a needle. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Rena and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine? Yeah, kinda. Something from my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't physically ill. It'll be hard for you to get back on track when your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get on up. They say wellness is a state of mind. I heard that line so many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone. Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is almost ready. There isn't much time before Rena-chan comes to get you. Mom's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall? Keiichi, did you wipe your butt all over the kitchen wall yesterday or something? Because we came in and there were brown stains all over the house. Keiichi, I know you were sick. You probably got a case of the mud butt, but we got toilet paper for that. You shouldn't do something like that. Don't poop on the walls. Your father was quite angry. I did feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said to me yesterday, "I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow," came back and dwelled to the back of my mind. What did she mean by that? I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying, "Don't be absent." Taking that a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. If I acted differently, someone like Oishi-san, for example, might end up noticing that something is up. Meaning, if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything different from the norm, in effect, it would end up communicating something to those who were undesirable. And it seems that was something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. So, if I would just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. That was how it was going to be. All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen and heard in the last few days, I'd be able to keep living life on like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could... I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea that I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying if I just forgot everything and kept living like I had been, I'd be forgiven. Keiichi, your food is getting cold. Hurry up and get down here. Rena will be here in a hurry. If you don't hurry up, I'm going to tell her you wiped your butt on the walls. And that's going to be real embarrassing, because then she won't be your girlfriend, because nobody wants to be the girlfriend of a guy who wipes his butt on the walls. That's how I see it, anyway. I'm coming. I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked at my somewhat bland breakfast. It seemed that I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Rena. Given yesterday's events, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that happened in the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet Rena. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. Ding dong, bing bong. Get your fucking ass out here, wiener boy, or we're going to kill you. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. Yeah, like, imagine the kind of mom that if you wipe your butt on the walls, it wasn't even like he wiped his butt on the walls. It's like he spread his cheeks and just kind of like kissed the wall with his bare asshole and then just did it a few more times on the wall. What am I saying? Why am I saying this? Y'all, I think something might be wrong with me. I don't know. But I appreciate you at least understanding or pretending to tolerate it. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. The chime signaled that Rena had arrived. Mom hurried me along. Come on, Rena-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry. My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Rena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Rena on the other side, was it the Rena I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual. Just be normal. See, it's fine. Look at her. She's totally good. Oodles of experience with butt spray. Butt spray? That is a very good word. Butt spray. Morning, Rena. An invigorating greeting filtered I filtered across the doorway. I came since Keiichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay today, I wonder? The manner in which Rena was concerned was, without a doubt, the Rena I knew, but that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday, pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment, forget about the mysterious death that happened the following years, forget about the people falling to their death, and the terminal illness, and the suicide, and the fatal beatings, and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Rena and Mion were scary. Of course, forget it all. Forget every single bit of it. Forget about the mochi, too. Forget. Rena once again asked to make sure. Can you make it to school? Yeah, I'm fine. Great. Then let's go. Michan is waiting. Rena showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. It's fine. But you see, Satoko-chan was so insistent that she could do it. As we were walking, Rena talked a lot about different stuff. More so than usual. That Satoko-chan is clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. She was so cute. Everything Rena talked about was just silly nonsense, so I just replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. See? Everything's totally gravy. We passed by one of our neighbors and they called out to us, "Oh my, Keiichi-chan and Rena-chan, aren't the two of you late today? Mion-chan said she was going on ahead." Uh-oh, did Michan look mad, I wonder? We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun. After greeting our neighbor with a smile, Rena turned back to me and poked her tongue out. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile. Ah, Keiichi-kun smiled. Huh? What? Rena stopped and stared at me. I was thinking that you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi-kun, but now you seem fine. Fine. With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was a bright, sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Mayabara, how can you still doubt Rena after she shows you a smile like that? Right? Right. Am I right? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today and I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. I really hoped that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there's only one thing that I'd wish for. I would want what had happened in the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night, I'd wanted all of that to have never happened. I wonder how many times I'd wished for this these past few days. Must have been those weird-ass pills I got from the hospital, right? It's like, damn, I don't know what they gave me, but it was a trip. A movie called Gaslight. You're making it up. As long as Rena kept on smiling like this, I think it might just become a reality. So I wanted Rena to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling. So Keiichi-kun. Those mochi yesterday. Did you eat them all? Hi. I think we're in trouble. That vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Rena's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday. Did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Rena was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that. Keiichi-kun. I was reluctant to give an answer. Rena stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Mayabara. Rena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. Both my throat and my mouth had gone dry and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time has passed. I could still keep this conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Rena playfully mimicked what I said, and I finally squeaked something out. Rena's reaction was still normal. It seemed that there wasn't a long pause as I had thought. Somehow, I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious. It's delicious. Just like corn. You too can have corn. If you want. It's very delicious. It's sad and depressing corn, but it is appetizing to some degree. However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Rena's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Rena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well. I see. So did you eat all of them, I wonder. My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I had swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here? No, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it. Huh? What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Rena made? Of the homework, was it due today? Yep, it's due today. Michan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you. Uh-oh. We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe that I'd think that it was the usual morning routine, but I was certain I wasn't mistaken. Batsugame! There was plenty of unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Rena. Lies! I recalled an unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Rena's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that peculiar time that something evil had possessed Rena? No, that was wrong. That was still Rena. Oisha-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Rena had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact could not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was something sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. But she broke all the windows all throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school, breaking the windows with a bat. Yo, that is a sick-ass CG, by the way. You don't get that in the original work at all, and I don't even think the anime shows that. That's bad as shit. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another, paying no heed to the flying shards. Your classmates aghast, unable to move from a sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Yeah, the anime does show it. Okay. Well, I'm going to be doing a rewatch once I finish reading each arc, I'm going to rewatch the arc in the anime too. So, that'll be fun. It was difficult for me to connect the horrifying image with the Rena smiling at me right now, but I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noise as Rena treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Rena's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wondered what they did as Rena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses saying something? Or did they jump at her trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room to call for teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight of Rena busting window after window, undoubtedly, all they could do was silently clear a path for her, dumbfounded, just clearing the path for Rena to continue. It would be cruel to blame anyone for looking the other way. No, they weren't simply looking the other way. They knew it was the only way that they could protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Rena's new target. What would Rena have done to whoever attacked her, or whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. I would have cheered her on. Like, you go, girl! Meaning I would be the next window. Rena, staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. Wubump, wubump, wubump. Then Rena struck me with the bat over and over again until I was one of those windows. I crouched down on the floor, desperately protecting my head. Rena didn't care whether it was my head or it was my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. This is quite the weird fantasy he's having right in front of her, by the way. Like, damn, homie, you show him? Exactly. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent. It was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make a pleasant as sound as the other windows. Ugh, that's rough. She struck me continuously, over and over. The sound Rena wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me! Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out? But of course, everyone in a class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They'd gain nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Ugh. Eventually there would be a faint sound similar to when you crack open a walnut, and then some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Rena momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oishi-san had told me. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It showed up, and quite a bit of that. What does? She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Following that, Rena was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Rena was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama. It seemed that Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow and looking down at her. That was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. Then what Rena did was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oishi-san, it was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not some curse. Except, it was people perpetuating the incidents. My friends seemed somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe that those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. He really, really does want to believe. It makes everything make sense. Like, it's easier to give in and just be like, fine, it's a fucking curse. My friends are fine. It's just this whole place is fucked up. Why? How? For what reason? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Oyashiro-sama's curse. In the aftermath, Rena had admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side of Rena. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Rena's fault. Oyashiro-sama-san was the one to blame. I knew this was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying that it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice? Accepting that Oyashiro-sama's curse exists, or that Rena and the rest of them were deeply involved in a string of mysterious deaths? This is his punishment for losing a clue? I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that, but that was no longer possible. I had received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my own convenience. Regardless of whether my opponent was a human or a curse, I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in. For no good reason at all. Keiichi-kun, you've been making a really weird face for what feels like 15 minutes. I stood here because I'm a good girl and I like to be here and supportive of my friends, but dude, how much did you smoke this morning? Why, I wonder. Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exercised all the terrifying thoughts. No matter how you look at it, there's no way Rena could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down onto my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. Everything's back to normal, everybody. See? What I tell you. Nothing's wrong here. Back to good old Satoko garbage child shenanigans. The chalk dust went into my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony. How befitting for the truant Keiichi-san. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Rena. Good morning, Satoko-chan and Rica-chan. Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently. What's this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem back to his normal usual self yet. Yeah, take it easy on him for today, okay? Suddenly there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit. Hey, Kei-chan, did you get enough rest? It was Mion. My mind was full with the stuff about Rena, but Mion was another party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gaze from yesterday. Yeah, morning. What's with the unenergetic greeting? Did you eat the mochi I brought you? I'm like this because I ate them. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I just really didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but there were quite a few left over. Huh. What about the homework? Did you have an answer to which one was Rena's? Keiichi said he forgot his forgot his homework. Oh no. You're telling on me. Sheesh, then we can't help it. Time for your penalty. Wee-hee-hee-hee. Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversation up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That's why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maebara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. See? It's all fine. A school day without incident. Mr. Maebara may be overthinking things a bit. This free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous of a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Oishi-san multiple times, I could see it as I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understanding things. It probably had no meaning beyond stunning my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me, they were biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation on my desk made me recall Satoshi Hojo, the boy who was using this seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have? And was erased? Damn. I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never. But were they really trying to kill me? I've had these contradictory feelings for a while now, even though I suspected them. I felt I had to cover for them. Even having witnessed all of their suspicious behavior, a morning like this just made it all seem like an elaborate hoax. No, that's just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends, covering for them, my life was in danger, or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that should have been deliberated a long time ago. But really, Rena and the rest of them, were they actually aiming to kill me? The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unresolvable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Maebara? The answer should be obvious. But maybe the sewing needle might have just been an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Both Rena and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some sort of misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Rena just corrected me for lying, and Mion only asked about what I had for lunch. Rena was standing outside my door eavesdropping for a solid hour. She was probably standing for waiting for the phone call to end. For a whole hour outside your room, and it was normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard from Oishi-san, didn't you? About what Rena did to her former school. But at the hospital, she said it was Oyashiro-sama's fault. She... Cut it out, Keiichi Maebara. You don't realize they're out to kill you. Uh-oh. I inadvertently blurted those words out loud. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Boy, you done drawing attention to himself now. Let's pull it back a little, Keiichi. Let's reel it in. Let's pull it back. It's all fine. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. Afterwards, I had to look around to check if anybody else heard it. My little soliloquy cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Rena and others, part of me somewhere was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student, a man living in his normal ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends, who I had been happily laughing together with up until last Sunday, now intended to kill me? Right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice down, so only I could hear it. It was one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I couldn't completely understand how dangerous Rena and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oishi-san when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I would have probably happily jumped into the circle. My, Keiichi-san, how rude of you to even think about leaving. The way Satoko spoke was typical and familiar. It almost physically hurt. Huh? Keiichi-san, is today not a good day, I wonder? And we were going to win big together. Aww. Seeing Rena's expression, which she'd been looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi, maybe Oishi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from others by lying to me. Slap. Trying to expunge the weak-minded thinking, I slapped myself in the face. Keiichi-kun? Yeah, was Rena really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it actually was one or not. I just wanted someone to say it was. Gah, another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive? Are you alright? Does your head hurt? Apparently this was how my inner dilemma appeared to Rena. You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder. No, it's okay, sorry. I can go home by myself. Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily. Since K-Chan was so bent on a revenge match, we were even going to play that deduction game from before, too. Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic. Trash child, I'm warning you. I wouldn't fall for some dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched gently on my head. Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate. It was Rica-chan. She was stretched as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. See you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind, took out my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Forward. Harden that heart, Keiichi Maebara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move, but I couldn't hate them, because weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivete, which another part of me lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. It felt like my personality was being ripped in two along with my body. If this is what Oyashiro-sama's curse is like, then it's just too harsh. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse. But I believe in it now. Completely. Your curse does exist, so seriously, give me a break. I beg you, come on. Dinner was unusually bland. It had no flavor or aroma. The miso soup that had normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into work, he ate and slept in his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant he had just reached a good point to take a break or he was in a slump. So yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have. Your partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? If it's so hard to agree on things, why not just end it? I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching, but when it gets in the way of business, I wasn't able to pick out much of my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same thought process that had been going all day long. Friends close to me. No, they used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now, I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted. Before I could depend on and when push came to shove, they were something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in the currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents who were still talking about work. The first course of action came to mind was tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person in Hinazawa I could trust 100%. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. But if I told them everything that happened up until now, would they understand? Rena, for example. The neighborly Rena, who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes brought over a share of what she'd made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mom would probably drag me off to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing them of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in the past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Maebara family to have an accident or just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinazawa. What was important was that knowing something unnecessary put you in danger. The most upsetting question was, how did they know what I knew now that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to look at it, I guess. At least it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. Which means that this house would be a safe haven for as long as my parents were in. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe. It was only safer than the outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. Then the only person who could be my ally would be Oishi-san. Him, and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving this case. It was a bit frustrating. Oishi-san was basically the whole reason I was in a mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him, meaning it was all going to be according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. No, there will be no negative consequences to reaching out. Like, when has there ever been a negative consequence to reaching out to a cop? How can you even possibly think of one? Then, when the fish started gathering around, Oishi-san would pull up the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that this was the best course of action. So then, what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. When they struck, I needed to somehow dodge just enough to tag out to Oishi-san. No question, it was going to be hard. The timing to bring Oishi-san in would be difficult. He was in the city, not Hinamizawa, so if I phoned him in my moment of need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me. So I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we set up a rendezvous point for dire situations or something, I'd just have to hide there until Oishi-san arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. If I was being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, the poor boogeymen are going to get our boy Keiichi. But now I knew which way to go. I would never have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah, it would probably be best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Typically that would call for a switchblade, but that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, it was recognized as a weapon by the public. That wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. I remembered that there was a metal bat at school. I could be confident with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, when it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always carry it around. No, you haven't missed anything. We went back to school, and it was basically a miserable day of wallowing in a lot of self-doubt and trying to piece together, just like, am I cursed? Do I want to just be friends and forget this shit? Oh man, I can't. My head's broken and I can't decide one way or another. I could go back to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon may be enough to deter them. Also, one more thing. Insurance. It could be something like a note or a memo. I could write down everything that's happened as sort of a journal. In case I suddenly vanished, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Oishi-san should be able to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. I tore out a piece of paper from a notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote in a journal was from summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead, so I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Maebara, am in fear for my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that had shown up often in detective stories. I never dreamed that I would be in the type of situation where I would write it myself. I do not know why they are after my life. Rena and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof, and that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed wryly at myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get a hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for the most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here I laughed nervously. It was too simple, so I wrote down one more line that I thought of. The only thing I do now is that it has to do with the only thing that I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written was of sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. I just needed to add more as I learned more about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was a chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was too obscure of a location, then there was the risk that nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick my folded note on the back with Scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back in its normal position. Yeah, it didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I needed to set up such an if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless different angles until it was satisfied that I made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. It didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. I'd never started off a conversation like this before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned toward me. What is it, Keiichi? I have a favor to ask of you. Please listen. Just in case, yeah? If it's not urgent, can this wait till later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy have something urgent they're talking about. I didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I stated my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both of my parents' eyes went wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, then they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in shop class, and I really like it. So, please. What's the matter, Keiichi? Did something happen? Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this was a normal response when someone's son suddenly talked about the subject like this. I felt bad about making them worry, but right now I wanted to think about the clock in my room. With the awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room. I want to get to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. I needed to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Rena. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it could only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine and mine alone. I couldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed. Not when I still knew nothing. Is there something wrong with your clock, Keiichi-kun? Yo, we got a tip. Not feeling so hot. Just one in the chat if you're not feeling so hot. Let us view new tips. What do we got? Not feeling so hot. Yeah, I'm not feeling so hot either, which is probably why we're quitting after this chapter. Keiichi-kun's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood. I wonder. Maybe he's on his period. I love you, Mion. You are so good. Michan, that's gross. Oh, yuck, 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 yuck. What do you think? Don't know. Could it be that Keichan, maybe? I don't know. The day Keichan was in that car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right? Yeah, no mistake. That Oishi, he probably fed him something fishy. He looked serious. Keiichi-kun's face was so pale. You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oyashiro-sama. Huh? What do you mean? Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. No lie. Oh? Is that so? The year before last, when Rika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Oishi. Now that you mention it, he was around before Satoshi-kun transferred out too. Transferred? You're so sweet, Rena. So this time he's appeared before Keiichi-kun. So Keiichi-kun is going to be demoned away too? An empty silence hung in the air. And then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter. Oh, jeez. Oh, yuck, yuck, yuck. All right, folks, we're going to actually call it there for the night. Having some hernia pains, so we're going to stop there. don't want to overdo it. I think we are at a point where we will probably be finishing this tomorrow night. Given what I know about this story and where it goes from here, I do believe we will be making an attempt to finish this up tomorrow night. So, I hope y'all come by. We will be starting at about 9 p.m. tomorrow night. So an hour later than tonight. Oh, dang. Sorry, Alfino. That's a bummer. But I am archiving these. When we're finished with each stream, I'm going to put them on YouTube. So I'll have them archived there. And I'm also saving the VODs here on Twitch. So they're still archived. You'll be able to watch the rebroadcast and stuff. And like I said, it'll be on YouTube and stuff once I get... they're already on YouTube. I'm not going to start releasing them as videos on YouTube until I finish each arc. And then I'll just release a video a day there that way. But the VODs are here on Twitch. So they'll always be here no matter what. So you can still watch that before they go up on YouTube. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put our boy Despair Corn back up to round out the night. Corn is good for a hernia, you know. Is it? Is it really? I hope so. We'll hopefully be out of the woods on that by the 8th. That's when I'm having surgery, so... let me hop over to the old Twitch, see who's streaming, and see who I can send you on over to. Because surely the good times must still roll on. My good pal, After 5, is streaming Kirby's Dream Course. And that game is a goddamn delight. So, we're going to go over and we're going to say hi to After 5. I want to thank everybody for coming out. It's been great having everybody come out for this again. This isn't something that I thought anybody would care about, honestly. So it's been cool to actually kind of have people come by and be enjoying this. And I know I'm not the greatest reader in the world. I apologize for that. But getting to enjoy this story again with a bunch of people that I really enjoy spending time with is really making this an entirely worthwhile experience. Rather than if I would have just done it by myself. So we'll catch you tomorrow night around 9 p.m. Hopefully I think it's going to be the finale, given what I know about the story. And I'm going to kick y'all over to After 5, so y'all have a good night. Later. Much loves.